And so it begins. Oh my goodness. So unless you've been living under a rock, I'm sure many of you guys are aware that Zohran Mamdani has won the race in New York for the mayor right now. He's going to be competing against Eric Adams, which I think would probably be a walk in the park, right? I would argue that majority of New Yorkers despise Eric Adams, okay? Just saying. And the way he's been going further to the right, especially with his praising of Trump, I don't think that's going to go over very well in New York. Now, I find it interesting that the right was, just completely lambasting this guy due to the fact that he's a Muslim, Democrat, socialist, right? And those words in combination, that's like trigger words for some people. Now, here's the thing. I think it's pretty crazy that Charlie Kirk tried to associate him with 9/11. I kid you not. He was trying to associate this man, due to him being a Muslim, with 9/11. That's crazy fear-mongering, okay? That's crazy fear-mongering. But I would argue, even though I'm not a New Yorker, but if I was, I would have voted for him for the two reasons I'm about to tell you. The first reason would be his position on police. Now, this is something I talked about a while ago when it came to defunding the police. I argued that the vast majority of officers were for the defunding of police. And many on the right were screaming and hollering, oh, the police, the police, right? The same people who constantly want to talk about most Second Amendment were then making the argument of, well, who are you going to call when someone breaks into your apartment? It's like, I'm going to call nobody. I'm going to call an ambulance for the person that breaks into my apartment because they're about to get popped. That's what I'm going to call. So I just find it interesting, this schizophrenic response when it comes to the police and how it exists in this world of the Second Amendment that they constantly want to praise and LARP for. I went on to say that, hey, in many cases, there's a video that I'll show you, but it goes to the fact that officers you're asking them to do too much. You're asking them to be psychiatrists when it comes to domestic, disputes. You're asking them to be, shrinks. You're asking them to be a litany of things that they are improperly trained for. And instead of saying, maybe there's a better way. Maybe there's a group of people who actually handle mentally ill individuals, who actually know what to do during, when someone's having an episode. Maybe those people should be in charge of dealing with these individuals, because 6 months, 6 months training isn't going to adequately train you for damn near anything, okay? I don't know what to tell you. Sure as hell it's not going to train you for what's going on the outside world with the problems that people have.
We're asking cops to do too much in this country. We are. We're just asking us to do too much. Every societal failure, we put it off on the cops to solve. Not enough mental health funding. Let the cop handle it. Not enough drug addiction funding. Let's give it to the cops. Here in Dallas, we got a loose dog problem. Let's have the cops chase loose dogs. Schools fail. Give it to the cops. 70% of the African community is being raised by single women. Let's give it to the cops to solve that as well. That's too much to ask. Policing was never meant to solve all those problems. And I just ask for other parts of our democracy, along with the free press, to help us.
So what you're doing is you're setting up the law enforcement for failure, because they don't care about law enforcement. The only reason they love law enforcement because they believe it protects them from the big bad black person. That's where their Neanderthal caveman mind goes. As I've said before, black person bad, white person good. That's how the racists work. But having said that, the concept is that you're asking too much of these people. And instead of trying to redirect funding to maybe better assist them or better supplement them, what you try and do is, we're going to give them more funding. Because the problem is training. That's the problem. The problem is training. We're going to give them more funding, to properly train them. You're not going to be able to do that, bruh. You're not going to be able to have someone, be an expert in all these fields. That's impossible. So what Zohran is saying is that, hey, what we need to do is exactly what defund the police, the concept behind that has been. Is that, hey, we need to redirect some of this funding to better supplement the police force.
Let's talk a little bit about defund the police, because obviously there were old tweets of yours that popped up last night where you called the police department wicked and you were supporting defund the police. Do you regret saying that?
Look, I want to be very clear. I will not defund the police. I will sustain the current amount of police officers we have in our police department. And that's because I know police have a critical role to play in public safety. And when I speak to those same officers, I hear frustration from them as to how they joined the force to take on serious crimes. And now they're being forced to respond to nearly every failure of the social safety net. We're taking police officers and asking them to be mental health professionals and social workers. That's why we've said that we're going to create a Department of Community Safety, which will allow the police to focus on their job, allow them to tackle the fact that 65% of crimes in the first quarter of this year are still unresolved, and hire the mental health professionals to tackle crises like mental health, homelessness, as well as gun violence.
But I'm all for that. The second reason I'd probably vote for him is due to him being America first. And when I mean America first, I actually mean America first. He is for New Yorkers. That's what he's made abundantly clear. Because I don't know about you, but I find it extremely perverse the amount of copious questions that have been directed to him regarding Jewish people, regarding Israel. This happened during the debates where they're asking, oh, where would you visit? And everyone's talking about, oh, Israel. I visited Israel 3 times, okay? This is going to be my 4th time visiting Israel.
The first foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first? Left to right, Ms. Adams.
First visit, I would visit the Holy Land.
Mr. Cuomo?
Given the hostility and the anti-Semitism that has been shown in New York, I would go to Israel.
Mr. Tilson, where would you go?
Yeah, I'd make my 4th trip to Israel, followed by my 5th trip to Ukraine, 2 of our greatest allies fighting on the front lines of the global war on terror.
Mr. Mamdani.
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
Oh. I'm like, bro, what's going on here? Are you good? Like, are we in New York? Or are we in Tel Aviv? What's happening here? And the fact that the Jewish population in New York is like 12%. What? How do we have news anchors asking about, well, do you believe, Israel is a Jewish state? Do you believe Israel has a right to exist? What? I'm sorry, what's going on in New York? What's going on there?
Do you support Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state?
What? I support Israel's right to exist as a state with equal rights. I believe that every state...
Why not as a Jewish state?
Because I'm not comfortable supporting any state that has a hierarchy of citizenship on the basis of religion or anything else. I think that in the way that we have in this country, equality should be enshrined in every country in the world. That's my belief.
They're trying to frame him as, oh, he's a big bad, he hates Israel, he's for Hamas. That's how they're trying to frame it. And at the end of the day, he's like, nah, it's not about that. It's about being for New Yorkers. I'm for, Jewish New Yorkers just as much as I am for Christian New Yorkers, just as I am for Muslim New Yorkers. The list goes on. I'm for New Yorkers. That's who I am supposed to be representing. And that is refreshing. And hopefully this is a first step in a new line of political candidates who are actually American first, okay? Who actually are, because I know a lot of people want to, have issues with him doing a rent freeze, even though it's been done before. They have a lot of issue as far as with the grocery stores that he wants to create. They have an issue as far as with some of the other social programs that he wants to implement. And here's the thing. What we need to start focusing on is getting rid of this phobia, right? This phobia of helping Americans, of this stigma that if we help Americans, we're bad, or we're communists, we're socialists, we're Marxists, right? All these boogie scare tactics to fearmonger people from actually helping American citizens, where it's like, hey, some people need help. Instead of saying, well, you just need to work harder. You just need to do overtime. You just need to slave away for these corporations. And that's unfortunately what the Republican Party has become. It's become a party for the corporations, for the benefit of them. And what Zohran is saying is that, hey, if you can find a way for, the American worker to be able to provide for themselves, they don't have a problem going to work. If you can find a way for them to be able to afford some of these homes, right? Because the housing market is crazy. They won't have a problem going to work. You'll be able to find workers for your companies, that it will be more synergistic to do that as opposed to outpricing them and forcing them to leave. Now, that's what some fear that many of the rich are going to do, because you're like, hey, well, why are you taxing them? Because that's this whole concept. Well, if you tax them just, a little bit more, that will provide for these programs, which will benefit them in the long run. So it's interesting to see how this is going to play out. And if it's a success, I don't know what to tell you. I think it's always going to be a win. It's always going to be a benefit to help the American people. Always. I think this concept of people just want to be lazy. Okay, Americans just want to be lazy. That's what y'all just want to sit at home and watch TV and be fat. Like that is, I would say that's corporate propaganda. I would say that's actually anti-American propaganda for the most part, because everyone is benefiting off of the taxpayer dollar. That's what's happening. All these countries, including Israel, including what's happening in the war, everyone is. But when it comes to America, we're the only ones that are expecting, well, you just, you have to work until you die. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. I don't care any type of social program that tries to help you or assist you, right? To assist you, because many of these programs, it's not a blank check, bruh. You have to, there's very stringent rules and policies and guidelines that you have to abide by. So this whole concept of, well, you're just a lazy person. That's it. It's quite literally the opposite, the furthest thing from the truth. Now, are there people who absolutely exploit these programs? 100%. But there are people who exploit everything. We saw this, with the country when it comes to the housing crash, when it comes to recessions, when it comes to depressions. There's always going to be that level of corruption there, okay? But the level of corruption is not really on the working class. It's going to be more of the elites. Okay, I'm just saying, I've never come across, a Jim Bob or a Deshaun who's working out, I don't know, as H&M or McDonald's that crashed the economy. I've never come across that. I don't know about you. So I think we need to have a different look and a different outlook on helping the American people, on helping us. Anyways, guys, that's the video. Let me know what you guys think, whether or not you believe he's a Muslim and he's a Democrat and he's a socialist. Those are all three bad things. Or if you have belief, listen, bro, we've been going your way for quite some time. I think it's time for a little refresh, we don't have someone who's constantly saying, I'm going to go to Israel. Okay, we got to go to Israel. Like, nah, bro, how about you stay here in New York because that's who you're going to be the mayor of, New Yorkers. How about that? I think there's a lot of irritants that many people have towards a perceived allegiance to people who aren't Americans. We'll just leave it at that, regardless of who they are. I think we need to focus on us. How do we improve our lives? How do we make our lives easier, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with having an easier life. Easier doesn't mean it's easy. It just means it's a less of a burden than what you previously started out with. Just because you may have a difficult life and it's easier, doesn't mean it's now it's easy. It's just a less difficult life. And that apparently is like, I don't know, that's like hate speech on the right, or at least to some people. Nevertheless, if you happen to disagree, you know where to find me. Thursday through Saturday, disagreement day. There'll be a number on screen. You call in and we duke it out. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please feel free to like, share, comment. Let me know what you guys think about this. Is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Will he win? Or will we have Eric Adams? And subscribe and that fun stuff. Till next time, guys, be amazing.
Do you support Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state?